Hi guys, how you going? Just want to look at the idea of a sign diagram to help you when you're sketching graphs. Alright, so remember in the last video we looked at increasing and decreasing functions. This particular thing, what we're looking at is whether the function's below or above the x-axis. So just having a look at a couple of examples here that you've got out of your textbook. So in terms of this function here, we have a 0 at -2 and 1, and we can see on this side of the graph it's above the axis, so therefore we make it a plus. Between -2 and 1 it's below the axis, so we'll make that a negative, and on the other side of 1 it's positive. So you get the idea? So this function here is below the axis on this side and it stays below the axis on the other side, so we will give that both a negative and a negative over there. This rational function is below the axis on this side of 0 and it's above the axis on that side of 0, so it's a negative positive. Alright, so just have a look at a couple of the examples that you'll have to do out of exercise 3C1. So this function here, when you're doing it, your sign diagram, it is a function against x, right? And so therefore what we're looking at is our f of x, or our y function. And then you need to put your intercept point there, which is 2. And therefore we know on this side it's below, it's negative, so on this side it's positive, so therefore that's what we're doing. Alright, looking at this next diagram, so x is there. Alright, so this is a function in f of x. Having trouble with my writer. So we've got an intercept -1, we've got an intercept at 3. So on this side it's below, so it's going to be negative. In between there it's above the axis, so it's positive, and below there it's negative. Alright, you get the idea? In terms of what we're going here, so on this side if we had our sign diagram, we're looking at the two values being 0 and 2. And so this side it's positive, in the middle it's below the axis, so it's negative and positive. Alright, pretty simple. I'm sure you've been able to do those. The other way of looking at this is if you get given the function like this over here, we'll just do one or two of these. So example number A, here's our function, and so what we'd be saying is f of x is equal to that. And so therefore if you make that equal to 0, the zeros are going to be at -4, and then the zeros are going to be at 2. Alright, so I mean you could put this into your calculator and graph it. We don't need to do that. We can look at what happens with our sign diagram. So what I have to do is pick a value that's inside each of these regions. So if I pick the value in here, in this region here, I might pick a value like -10. So if I put -10 into this point here and this point here, so what would I get? I'd get -10 would give me a negative value there, and then I've got -10 take 2 would be negative. Two negatives times together give me a positive. Alright, got the idea? Pick a value inside here. Obviously the easiest one would pick would be 0, so that's going to give you negative and a positive, sorry, a positive and a negative, and so therefore those times together give me a negative. Over here, pick a value greater than 2, we might pick 10, right, so 10 plus 14, 4 is 14, 10 take 8, 2 is 8, so 2 positive give me a positive. Alright, so you get the idea? It's pretty simple. Let's do another one. Let's do F. Actually, no, we'll do B. Alright, so looking at this one here. Alright, so my intercept points are going to be at 0 and 3. Alright, so again, we do the same sort of concept. Pick a value that's inside each of these regions. So negative value there, so let's say -5. So if I put -5 there, that's going to become a negative. -5 is -8, so it's 2 negatives, so it's going to be plus. Right? If I pick a value between there, say 1, right? So 1, that's going to be a positive. 1 take 3 is going to be negative, so therefore that's going to be negative. This one over here, if we got a value, say 5, okay, so 5 is going to be positive. 5 take 3 is going to be a positive, so therefore it's going to be positive overall. Now, the key thing, if I'm sketching what my graph might look like from this information, I know it's above the axis here, it's below the axis there, it's above the axis over here. So it's going to be a quadratic, which is curving like that. And again, this one's doing the same thing. Alright, so it's just a sketch. Obviously, we know our vertice point would be halfway between -4 and 2, and the same thing over there. Alright, so that's those two examples. When you're coming down to 6, it's just really just doing that. You don't even have to do the sign diagrams given to you. Alright, because it's only got one turning point, we know that must be a straight line. Okay, nice smooth graph. Here we've got 2 turning points, so this would be a function which is going something like this, staying above the axis. It's got its vertice point at 3, 0. This one here is going above and below, so that's a line going straight down. Alright, so obviously if you look at the previous examples I talked about, if you've got more than one turning point, then you can have something like that. Now, just a quick sketch. If I have something like this one here, let's say I've got plus, negative, negative, plus. Alright, so therefore what my function's doing here, if I was drawing that, it's obviously above the axis here, it's below the axis there, so it goes to a point where it's going to intercept, it's going below again, and then it's going up again. Alright, a bit of a dodgy diagram, but you get the concept. That tells you what the graph should look like, so it's an easy way of checking that out. So good luck with those questions. Again, if you have any troubles, make sure you catch me in class.